Whoever told them to do this was a bad move.
It wasn't the greatest game. Like, there wasn't that much effort that was shown on the court.
The WNBA is getting obliterated.
The WNBA hit full-blown Defcon 1 on July 20th after multiple All-Stars risked suspension with what might be the most out-of-touch stunt the league has ever seen.
It's an unwatchable All-Star game. It is really bad.
In the All-Star game, wearing "Pay us what you owe us" t-shirts.
During a nationally televised All-Star game, one most people weren't even tuning in for, players stepped onto the court wearing shirts that read, "Pay us what you owe us."
WNBA players whose salaries are subsidized by the NBA wear t-shirts declaring, "Pay us what you owe us."
It may have been the exact moment the league officially set itself ablaze.
What exactly are you owed? You know what I mean? What exactly are the WNBA players owed?
In an instant, the All-Star game went from celebration to spectacle. Instead of spotlighting basketball, talent, and rising stars, the league became the backdrop for a protest louder than the game itself.
WNBA players whose salaries are subsidized by the NBA wear t-shirts declaring, "Pay us what you owe us."
Those now notorious shirts took center stage. Big, bold letters across the chest. "Pay us what you owe us." No nuance, no clever phrasing, just a direct jab at WNBA leadership.
Because as much as I'm disappointed in the effort that was shown on the court, and I do think that this was an opportunity, even with all the CBA negotiations and the shirts that they were wearing, to really prove like, hey, look at this product, look at the ratings that we can get.
And possibly even the NBA. This wasn't the work of a few rogue players. Every All-Star hit the floor in those shirts. Behind them, Brittany Sykes, front and center, holding a sign that screamed, "Pay the players."
But you guys made a statement about the pay today, and it said, "Pay us what you owe us" on the shirts. It's going to get a lot of attention. If you could just say in the simplest form to those who are just getting aware of this now, what do you mean by what you owe us?
You know, the players of what is building this brand and this league. There is no league without the players, and you know, the past, present, the ones coming up, they're the ones that have put in the blood, sweat, and tears for the new money that's coming in, and so we feel like we are owed a piece of that pie that we helped to create. So that's basically what that is.
This wasn't a spontaneous moment. It was orchestrated, united, and built for viral headlines. And viral it went, just not how they intended. Barstool covered it. Breaking 911 posted it. Even Clown World jumped in. And when Clown World is treating your protest like breaking news, you've officially lost the narrative. What should have been a showcase of the league's best turned into a PR dumpster fire. One comment summed it up perfectly. They want NBA paychecks with YMCA stats. Harsh, but hard to argue. Within hours, the message on those shirts completely eclipsed the game itself, if you can even call it a game. Because let's be real, this wasn't basketball. It was a glorified shoot-around. No defense, no urgency, just a bunch of all-stars casually tossing up threes and four-pointers like it was open gym. Napheesa Collier dropped 36. Sounds impressive. Should have been the headline, but nobody cared. That's how forgettable this whole event was. She scored over 30 in a televised scrimmage and barely got a single replay. Skylar Diggins-Smith put up a triple-double. Still crickets, because barely anyone was watching. Even the hardcore fans were either zoning out or going off in the live chat. And what about Caitlin Clark, the league's biggest draw? The one player actually moving merch and bringing in eyeballs. She didn't even suit up, out with an injury. But that didn't stop the WNBA from splashing her face all over the promos leading up to the game. Straight up bait and switch. Casual fans tuned in expecting a showdown. Team Caitlin versus Team Kelsey. Instead, they got whatever this was. No Clark, no real competition, just awkward pacing and a protest team making headlines. And here's the real twist. This wasn't some harmless locker room message. This stunt might actually lead to suspensions. Multiple league insiders say execs and even sponsors were completely blindsided. No warning, no green light, just a surprise protest that lit a match under already fragile CBA talks. The timing couldn't have been worse. Let's be clear. These aren't underpaid sweatshop workers. Most WNBA players are already making six-figure salaries for a 4-month season. That's the reality. And yet, they're demanding more. From a league that lost $50 million just last year. Yeah, you heard that right. A business hemorrhaging tens of millions is being told to pay up. Based on what, exactly? Vibes and social media pressure? This protest didn't rally fans or build sympathy. If anything, it proved the critics right. As one brutal comment put it, "Can we pay them to go away?" Now the WNBA is left scrambling. Sponsors are furious. Team owners are done playing nice. And the fans? They've already checked out. What should have been the league's biggest weekend turned into a PR disaster. All that's left behind? A boring, forgettable game and a protest that exploded in their faces. Let's get one thing straight. These players aren't struggling, not even remotely. The average WNBA salary is 6 figures for a part-time gig that spans just 4 months. Most people working full-time with degrees would kill for that kind of setup. And the kicker? That paycheck isn't coming from league profits. It's coming from the NBA's wallet. Yep, for over 20 years, the NBA has been covering the tab, pouring money into a league that consistently loses $40 to $50 million a year just to stay afloat. So, when the players march out in those bold little shirts that scream, "Pay us what you owe us," the natural reaction is, owe you for what, exactly? For empty arenas? For multi-million-dollar losses? For turning the All-Star game into a lazy shoot-around that looked more like a game of horse than pro-level competition? Even the podcast bros are asking the obvious. What are you actually owed? Because if we're being real and looking at numbers, the players don't just not deserve more. They technically owe the league, the NBA, and even the fans. That's how upside down the math is. And the sad part? It didn't have to be like this. The 2024 All-Star Game actually had momentum. Team USA versus the WNBA All-Stars. Real intensity, real defense, full court pressure, actual pride on the line, Caitlin Clark throwing dimes, Angel Reese attacking the paint. The crowd was into it. It wasn't perfect, but at least it felt like basketball. This year's game? A disaster in sneakers. It didn't feel like basketball. It didn't feel like a protest. It felt like a group of disgruntled co-workers tanking the company retreat out of pure boredom. No energy, no message clarity, just a lazy, tone-deaf display that looked more like a meltdown than a movement, aimed at the very fans they supposedly want in their corner. And yet, there's Angel Reese, Courtney Williams, and the rest hopping on the "pay us what you owe us" bandwagon like it's some viral TikTok trend. But nobody's pausing to ask the real question, what have you actually brought to the table lately? Because let's be real, there was only one person in that arena driving revenue, only one person selling jerseys, moving tickets, and dragging national attention to WNBA games. And it's not Angel, it's not Courtney, and it sure isn't Nafessa. It's Caitlin Clark, the rookie who's done more for this league's exposure in 6 months than most of these vets have in 6 years. One comment nailed it. Only Caitlin Clark should be saying that. She's the league's ATM, and that's not an exaggeration. It's economics, it's business, it's facts. When the noise faded and fans saw the full picture, the gloves came off. The backlash? Absolutely brutal. We're talking thousands of furious comments, dozens of viral threads, and a social media beatdown so relentless it felt like a digital mugging. These weren't just critiques. They were scorched earth takedowns. A few gems, cut their pay by 50% and see if they still run their mouths. They should be paying us to watch this mess. And the one that echoed the loudest? Can we pay them to go away? And this wasn't just coming from trolls in the shadows. It was everywhere. Headlines lighting up the feeds. WNBA All-Stars embarrass themselves with entitlement protest. League that loses millions demands raises. This wasn't media coverage. It was a full-blown public roasting. Some fans even escalated it further. One viral post laid it out plain. The NBA should pull the plug, stop the funding, cut the cord. Why should profitable NBA teams keep pouring millions into a league that shows zero gratitude and hijacks its biggest game for a protest no one asked for? And if that sounds harsh, just look at one viewer's mic drop. This isn't a league. It's a DEI tax write-off with a scoreboard. Extreme? Maybe. But that's the sentiment spreading. And when that kind of vibe catches fire, it starts hitting the one thing that actually matters: revenue. Now the WNBA has backed itself into a corner. That protest? It didn't ignite change. It didn't rally support. It didn't spark unity. All it did was highlight just how disconnected some players are from the business side of the league. And worst of all, it forced fans to ask the one question no sports league ever wants to hear. Why does this league even exist? Let's call it what it was. This wasn't just a PR blunder. It was career sabotage in real time. The WNBA is already bleeding money like a luxury cruise with a gaping hole in the hull. And now, add open revolt at what was supposed to be a feel-good all-star showcase. The league office didn't just raise eyebrows. They lost sleep over this. Internally, executives were blindsided. And sponsors? They weren't just caught off guard. They were livid. No warning, no coordination, just a surprise protest that hijacked the spotlight and lit a fire under already fragile partnerships. Now let's talk about Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, because this part just adds another layer of insanity. She was literally seen partying with the very players who pulled off a stunt that could detonate the entire league. You can't script this. One night she's all smiles and selfies with all-stars, and the next morning, she's reportedly on back-to-back calls with furious team owners demanding answers. According to league chatter, Kathy might be shifting gears, leaning more toward ownership now and quietly gearing up for damage control. And that may include suspensions. Yep, the whispers are getting louder. Internal discipline is on the table. Fines, missed games, maybe more. If that happens, this mess officially evolves from PR nightmare to civil war. But here's the part that really stings. Only one player in the entire league actually earned the right to wear that shirt. And we all know her name, Caitlin freaking Clark. As Benito said, and I quote, "Only one player in this league deserves that shirt, and her name is Caitlin Clark." This girl didn't just bump ratings, she resurrected the league. We're talking Lazarus in sneakers. Before she arrived, the WNBA was on life support, 1 foot in the sports graveyard, buried somewhere between the XFL and late-night Olympic curling reruns. Then Caitlin showed up like she was handpicked by ESPN to save the league. And guess what? She delivered. Ratings soared. Ticket sales exploded. Merch flew off shelves. She became the WNBA's golden goose. And yet, somehow, instead of rallying around the one player pulling the league into relevance, others are busy acting like they laid the golden egg. These players are protesting themselves right out of a job. And honestly, that might be the most WNBA thing ever. You had momentum. You had Caitlin Clark. You had the world watching. But instead of building something lasting, you chose to turn unity into division.